Hello, it's your boy Zappa, King of the Giant Robots, here in association with Gunpla Network. If you're like me and you must catch all the giant robots like Red catches Pokemon, maybe you need to expand your horizons and check out Side 7 Exports, wonderful sponsor of our podcast. Side 7 Exports is your one-stop shop for all of your P. Bandai and those hard-to-get Gundam-based exclusive needs. After checking out their catalog, use promo code GunplaNetwork10 for 10% off of your glorious order. Hello, and welcome to your monthly Gundamstorian podcast. I am Zappa, today's host, and I'm here along with the boys.
Hello.
I'm one of those boys. So,
Hi-yo.
yes, we're all here.
Whoops.
Yeah,
awkward,
we're
awkward silence.
very awkward. That's
Well,
okay.
I'm
It's
Chris.
I'm Pat.
And I'm the Spicer. Yay.
We're the Warner Brothers.
And
I'm
their
the Warner sister. Yep.
So, for the first time in how many months, we're actually here together, as opposed to one of y'all having to fly out to Side 8, deal with the terrible snacks and the glowing water.
Glowing
And
water.
don't
Yeah,
for-
I don't miss Side 8. It is much nicer here.
and let's not forget the weird, Newtype space magic.
Actually, if you want to talk new types and space magic, I've gathered ye here today because we here at the Gundamstorian Research Institute of Technical Stuff, or GRITS, I have a dilemma.
Ruh-roh.
I've come across an unidentified something of a new type. We've run tests on him. We can confirm with 100% accuracy that he is not a new type of the Universal Century. But he exudes many skills and abilities and premises that make him seem like a new type. So I've brought you gentlemen here to help me dialogue, help me figure out, discuss what new type adjacent he could be. What would be the superior new type proxy to classify this gentleman as?
So basically, you're saying he's an unknown type.
Yes, he's an unknown type, and we need to identify what type he is. So,
are you going to be cutting him into little pieces, or?
Or cloning him.
so we're going to be talking about what he could be, and not discussing what procedures he's already gone through. I am backed by Dr. Akuma after all, so
Some
I
nefariousness.
digress.
That's
Very
a little,
nefarious.
Yeah, that's a little open-ended there.
Yes.
Well, let's remember, Akuma in English means demon.
Ah,
Yes.
I thought
Now.
that was yokai.
No, those
Also,
are spiritual critters. They're slightly
okay.
different.
there are, nuances to each word, but they all break down into the same general category of not human creature.
More or less, but that's for a different podcast subject. We're here for Gundam stuff.
Exactly. So, gentlemen, surely you received your packets all the way from Side 8, and you've done your research on your suspicions of what this gentleman could be. And please go forth and tell me.
About that, why did they smell funny?
Because we have glowing water.
Why did mine have blue dye on it?
Glowing water.
Why did mine have glowing water?
Terrible snacks. You've been to Side 8, Cody.
Yeah, multiple times. It's not a fun trip.
They're still trying to remove the growths from my last trip from that glowing water.
Were they?
It's only bioluminescence. It's not toxic. If you have growth, that's a different problem.
I don't know, man. They've been putting extra stuff in the burgers at McDaniel's ever since.
And that's why you need to go to Bernie's.
Oh man, I need that Zaku burger right now. Double Zaku burger with extra bacon and a little salt bay of Minovsky particles.
All right, now that we've shoehorned in our G Savior reference, gentlemen, who would like to come up to the plate first and present unto the audience and myself?
Not me.
You know what? How about I go first? Because I haven't gone first yet. Maybe it's my turn.
Hey, and it's also my turn to host, so let's do this.
All right, so could he possibly be from Cosmic Era, a coordinator? What is a coordinator, you might ask? Well, here's the fun thing. Coordinators seem to be a very interesting sort of subset of, if you can call it, human. They are actually genetically enhanced humans. Closer to something from Universal Century that we might think of as like a cyber Newtype, except not with necessarily the cybernetic enhancements, as it were, because their DNA was literally rewritten in certain points to make them superior individuals in certain aspects.
I totally forgot about that point.
And I will say this much. The way that Cyber Newtype is written in Super Robot Wars is as enhanced human.
Yes, but the enhancements are different. Whereas a Cyber Newtype might actually be, part cyborg or have some funky implants to, I don't know, to cause certain not bionic, but biological functions to express more, to simulate before eventually actually being full on new type, effects. These are people who the process, which was more or less invented by a very important fellow to Cosmic Era in the early Cosmic Era named George Glenn, where basically they would take embryos right out of the womb. Now, embryos, not zygotes. But they would take the embryo out of the womb. They would do the modification straight to the poor little thing's DNA and put them back in their mother's womb to continue gestation where possible, so they could be born naturally like that. And the results were genetic enhancements, making these individuals superior in several different aspects compared to your quote-unquote natural-born human. Almost like if we were to compare a completely separate franchise, something like the Clans versus the Imperials in MechWarrior. Or the Inner Sphere, sorry, because not everybody worked for the Empire. And, of course, with coordinators, their enhancements vary, but generally when you find the ones that end up doing combat, it's all your standard super soldier crap. Their reflexes are heightened, their perception is greater, their eyesight is keener. If your name happens to be Kira Yamato, you were developed to be the ultimate combat coordinator.
Ultimate extreme.
Yeah. In the case of a certain set of bad guys we see show up quite often in Seed. Of course, I'm referring to, in the original Seed, individuals like Ra Le Creuset. What was his little so-called brother in Destiny? The name...
Oh, Ray Zabarel.
Yeah, Ray Zabarel, or even from the Astray series, Canard Pars. All of those guys, believe it or not, are clones of Mula Flaga's dad, Alda Flaga, because he had money. and he wanted to live on in some way, shape, or form. But they were all considered failures in some way, shape, or form as well.
So is that why everybody in Seed has the same face?
Well, at least all the major power players seem to all have the same face. Yeah, because they're all clones of Moo's dad. And they are all equally short-lived. And I'm not just talking the fact that they die quickly because somebody, puts their gun in their face and ends them faster. I just mean their telomeres are shorter than normal.
So they actually have a lesser lifespan.
They have an actually shortened lifespan, and that was something that, oddly enough, considered the modern freaking super genius of their time, Kira's dad, Ulin Hibiki, is actually Kira and Kagali's dad. So, unfortunate spoiler alert if you were not following that at all. I actually had to look this stuff up because I couldn't believe it. But anyway, and Kira's dad, Olin, was the guy behind making all of these wacko clones. And the problem with coordinators is first generation of them, usually you're not doing too bad. Second generation, I'm talking like with them, breeding amongst themselves. Coordinators, George Glenn had this philosophical outlook that was truly wonderful, and it probably sounds a lot like Xion Daikun or what's his name from 00, whose name also escapes me. But the scientist behind the GN drives and stuff, him. Coordinators were not supposed to be the next step in evolution. They were supposed to help mankind progress to that next step in evolution. And here's the funny thing, and we see it with Mu, and we even see it start to develop a little bit in Kira and Atherin. Newtypes, as we know them in Universal Century, that good old sound effect, I'm sure we can find it later, the starts appearing and they start reacting to it.
Oh, yeah.
So not only was there this whole genetically enhanced human business going on, naturally developing new type behavior was coming on its own. Now, if this was due to the fact that the entire Seed universe of Cosmic Era was truly supposed to be the reboot of the Universal Century like they wanted, well, I'm sure there's plenty on that, but I'm not here to discuss that. I'm here to tell you how awesome coordinators are, and how, get this, the derogative term Naturals had for them, and particularly some purist terrorist organizations like Blue Cosmos, they would call them patchworks. Because their DNA...
that, but I didn't watch it dubbed, so that's...
Again, I'm pulling this from my research. Yeah, and
yes,
because their DNA was quite literally patchwork. And because of that, again, second gen coordinators, usually not too bad. But when you got to third generation coordinators, so these are the grandchildren of first generation coordinators that are purely coordinators, well, the thing that happens with purebreds, it happens with them too. Their genetics are unstable. They need medication. Not just to stay sane.
And is this where we come into the two trios, to which I have nothing better than the family of the druggie children?
No, the druggies are actually a completely different thing. They are the answer to coordinators, because that was the Earth Alliance's secret project. Because I looked into that. Those are also enhanced humans, but they are done not quite more ethically, if that makes sense. They're not ethic. They are based on the project known as the biological CPU program. They're basically drugged up so that their minds are accelerated, and it obviously destabilizes their personalities and their decision making big time. And yeah, they're also considered one-time use.
Oh, disposable.
To imagine that's your life.
They're single-use frickin' boosters when they turn that shit on. And yes, the Earth Alliance expects them to die, or rather, Blue Cosmos, I should say.
Kamikaze.
There's lots of shadow factions in Seed.
Like 15 of them.
Yeah, it's retarded.
That's why I couldn't watch Destiny. I couldn't keep track of the factions anymore. I'm like, I'm out.
Dude, I couldn't get past episode 2, so...
That's how far I made it, episode 2, and I'm like, no, I'm done.
Just read a translation of Super Robot Wars Z. Everything's better.
Pretty much. But yeah, aside from that, I found there's a lot of correlation between Seed's coordinators and 00's Innovades. Just throwing it out there.
They're both from the Cosmic Era, correct?
No.
No?
Not at all. No.
Innovades are from our timeline of Anno Domini.
They are, again, genetically enhanced individuals, but in most cases, they are literally one individual that was enhanced and then multiple clones were made.
Oh, okay.
This was also done to some extent with certain combat coordinators in Seed. You just didn't see it in the main stories. This was stuff that happened a lot in like the Astray stories and Stargazer, because the Sahaku clan loves to keep their cloned combat coordinators on a tight leash to back up what's his name, the Amatsumina. Oh yeah, he loves his pets. Anyway, that's about what I got for the coordinators from Seed, unless you guys got questions for me.
Well, you've ticked all of my boxes on my checklist except one. Do coordinators have the ability to use bit-type weapons?
Okay, that is an interesting question, because this technology in Seed is not like what you see in Universal Century. The Dragoon system, as it's known in Cosmic Era, is actually pretty much 99% computer based. So they have remote weapons, but at the same time, I mean, Cody, if you know more, please do correct me. And if you guys know better in the comments.
I'm pretty sure, I'm 90% sure you're right. I mean, I haven't looked at it in a hot minute, but yeah. I mean, really, it's not on a lot of units. You don't really get to see it.
Because it's expensive.
yeah, I mean, not cheap.
I mean, you've got the Mobius, or the gun barrel Mobius. You've got what?
The Legend Gundam.
The Legend Gundam.
The Strike Freedom.
The Freedom, the Strike Freedom, the Dreadnought Gundam, and
I forgot about
like,
that one, yeah.
and that's about it. Like, it's because it's such high-end computer-controlled weaponry, because these machines basically have a complicated AI and a supercomputer in each of them, because they've got those phase neutralizers that allows them to actually use nuclear reactors to power themselves rather than rely on solar batteries. You know, like, they can get away with it. Remote weapons, as we would think of them being psychically controlled through brainwaves, not wholly explored in Seed. What they do go with, however, is extremely high mobility machines. Just look at I'm not talking the Strike Freedom, because I know they did a bunch of weird stuff with it, but even just the original Freedom. That thing, max excel at any one direction, 4 Gs. That's insanely fast according to any other mobile suits that you look at contemporary like.
I see.
Especially for that size.
That's definitely a very interesting revelation. I actually didn't know that. So very good research.
I was a C nerd before I was a UC nerd, and I'm terribly ashamed to admit that.
You know what? We all make mistakes, and so long as we address and acknowledge our mistakes, we can improve. And you did improve. You moved on to the UC.
Exactly.
All right. Very good. Very good. You've checked all of my prerequisite boxes with, I suppose there's an asterisk in there now. All right.
Well, mitigation factors.
Yes. Okay, so let's roll the dice here. I don't have dice. Who would like to go next?
I guess
I can go.
Okay.
Oh, you can go, Chris. I can go last. It's fine.
So, I have chosen, and unfortunately they are called Newtypes from Gundam X.
Ah.
I know we weren't supposed to choose Newtypes, but unfortunately they are actually called Newtypes. And they share a lot of similarities with the UC Newtypes. They have, they are naturally born. There are some cyber Newtypes that we see in Zeta Gundam. And they have the enhanced reflexes, enhanced piloting intuition, and they also seem to have some telepathic connection to other Newtypes as well. And they also can communicate with each other depending on how strong of a Newtype that person is, whether it's just a random feeling, or they can actually enter this other plane and talk to each other face to face. Not sure what else to say.
It's just as ill-defined as UC Newtypes, maybe?
So you're saying that they can communicate with each other, like, across distances. What about across species?
Across species?
I'm trying to nudge you to talk about the Newtype dolphin.
Yeah, the dolphins. I remember those.
I don't think Gundam X had dolphins.
It was like episode 15. They're basically on the water and
oh, those dolphins. Yeah, I guess they can talk to other.
Tifa was talking to those dolphins.
That's right. I totally forgot about that. Thank you.
There's a whole episode about Tifa communicating with dolphins.
Right.
As though they were, just another person. I don't think she even realized it was a dolphin until she got to the beach.
That's right. Yeah, she wasn't sure who or what she was talking to. I guess in that universe, the more they can talk to other species that are more intelligent.
Okay. Well, we do have at least it's as the closest Newtype adjacent we have. It's immediately ticks almost all the boxes. But what about the use of bit type weapons? What do we have in regards to this one facet?
Well, yes, they can control bit type weapons, and in this case, they are actually full mobile suits that have a computerized system in them. They don't have a pilot or a cockpit as such, and there is I guess for lack of a better term, a master control suit that controls many other bits, like the Gundam X is able to control other Gundam X bits that have pretty much the same armament, as well as the Air Master and the other suit that I can't recall the name of right now.
The Leopard?
The Leopard, thank you. Because they were all... Because they wanted to... I guess they wanted to minimize the pilot casualties by having one pilot controlling many suits rather than having pilots in all the suits. Less training, less money spent on training, less casualties. But also, if you manage to take out the control suit, then all those bits just fall to the ground as useless bits, lack of a better term.
And according to the footage that you sent me, there's also another mobile suit that has bits. It's called the The Vertigo or the Vertigo?
Yes, that was the one of the bad guy suits. They also have bits as well.
Very good. So, well, that does cover everything that I need for my notes. So we'll mark that as a big maybe here.
I guess
Young Spicer. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, in this universe, it looks like the emphasis for the Newtypes, or they are naturally evolved and born that way, rather than being engineered, unlike the seed coordinators.
But just as much, it seems like they get researched on as well.
Yes, they also get experimented on as well, yes.
But haven't you heard? Newtypes are a myth.
We're trying to prove that wrong, actually. We're trying to identify so many different kinds of Newtypes.
I can't think of anything else to discuss with the Gundam X Newtypes. Do you have any other questions? Did I tick all your boxes?
No, sir. I don't believe I do. I think we're set on the variation of the Newtype from Gundam X. Young Spicer.
So
the floor is yours.
I have to do my duty, my due diligence, and represent Gundam Age because no one ever will other than me.
It's almost as though you know a man that is a fan of this show.
It's almost like I do.
He won't have to be
I might be
Woody?
playing to my crowd here. But yeah, so I'm covering the X-Rounder from Age, and this is, once again, very ill-defined space magic, but it is something I've thought about a lot for a lot of different reasons, oddly enough, so I was very well prepared for this. But basically, X-Rounders, pretty rare, but for whatever reason, the Vegans, or the antagonist force throughout Gundam Age, has a lot more of them than the Earth and Colony people, so I don't know if Mars has something to do with that or not. They never specify, but regardless anyway, they can not only control bit-type weapons that are basically pure energy for the most part, and some physical depending on which version you're looking at, but they can also control enemy mobile suits. So they have a lot of mental capacity to do these things. They do have some supplemental hardware. There's some helmets that help with that, and those helmets will help regular non-X-Rounder people perform better at the expense of driving them crazy. So X-Rounders, pretty standard in terms of your psychic ability, but they're also heightened senses just in general, kind of like the coordinators. So usually their physical prowess is a little bit, they're a little bit more coordinated. They generally are a little bit more intelligent, or at least portrayed to be. And of course it differs from person to person, but generally all of them are very good at combat. All of them are usually pretty good tacticians and commanders, and sometimes they're crazy depending on. But yeah, what questions do you have, Zappa? I feel like you'll probably have more questions that I can answer.
Your X-Rounders here, is this a naturally occurring thing, or is this something that had to be like forced into existence? Do X-Rounders happen on their own?
So technically, yes. Age never delves into whether or not there's some environmental factor that may have caused it, or any weird ancient stuff. But generally speaking, the lore kind of tells us that it's naturally occurring, and you can kind of force people into it, but it usually doesn't work very well, and they're kind of not as good as the natural-born X-Rounders.
Okay, so something that Pat had brought up earlier about how it kind of gets weaker in the generations. Does the X-Rounder pass from generation to generation?
So it does, but usually not to the child you want it to. So in Gundam Age, our first protagonist, Flit Asano, is an X-Rounder. He's a very intelligent kid, helped to design the Gundam, the Age builder system thingy, skilled mobile suit pilot beyond his years, goes on to become a tactician, military commander, and all that. But his son, Osmo, does not inherit the X-Rounder gene. His sister, who goes on to become a doctor, does. So it does pass down, but it's not guaranteed to go to all of your descendants.
I'd forgotten that Asimo had a sister, so
it's almost like they kind of write her out of the show.
Oof.
Sad, but true. I think she's in like a family picture at some point.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Alright. I felt like for a second there I had one, but I wanted to, bait you into the further dialogues.
Something about how it might skip a generation in some cases, maybe?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. It skipped Asumu.
And I don't actually know if... I don't think they ever talk about the age of his sister, as far as, like, I don't know if they're twins or if one of them is an older sibling. I think he might be older. But then it goes down to Kyo as well, so it seems pretty consistent.
Okay, so... Alright, gentlemen will give me a moment. I'm going to see if I can't crunch some numbers here. Okay, gentlemen, after crunching your data and doing a lot of numbers, let's present some video game numbers for the people. As is tradition, I have Super Robot Wars data for you all. Wherein, let's begin with the new types. The new types, as our baseline, come in various ranks, which, a rank 1 through 9. At rank 1, they'll have an extra accuracy and evasion bonus and gain additional bonuses up to level 9. And going from level 7, they will have an extra panel range of their funnel type weapons. So look at this, either Super Robot Wars or some of y'all have been playing SD Gundam G Generation Genesis. So you can look at it like a chessboard, like a tactical map. So that is our baseline, an accuracy and evasion bonus per level. Our enhanced human, our cyber new types, which, as we've learned, enhanced humans are not just cyber new types. There are our boosted drug children. They're, anything that has been modified. I think Cody, you mentioned that you could force X-Rounder-like traits with a helmet.
Yeah, I think there's in the third and I guess fourth, the Kyo arc, if you will. They, I think, have updated that. It's some kind of hardware, but it originates in the second arc as a helmet. Because Asimo tries it and nearly drives himself insane, I think.
Oof. Oh, good. So, in that case, we have our enhanced human. They, too, get an accuracy and evasion bonus, but only at 4%, and gain an additional 4% up to level 9. And starting at level 7, they only gain a +1 range to their funnel-type weapons. Very less than the new type. But in parallel, our new types from Gundam X also gain a accuracy and evasion bonus of +5 and another +5 per level. They don't get the bonus to funnel weapons though, since we've seen that there's only seems to be one case of a bit weapon as opposed to a bit mobile suit. Although I would think that the concept of using a mobile suit as an entire bit weapon is far superior. And in coordination with the new type X, we also have the category F. Our evil Frost Brothers only get a 4% bonus to their evasion and accuracy, but they get a critical increase chance of 3% up to level 9. Seed, young Pat, our Seed Boys don't get accuracy and evasion bonuses at ranks. Just when they hit a certain point, the
seed factor kicks in.
Yeah, when the seed factor kicks in.
Yeah.
I noted it at high morale, at 130 morale, if you want numbers. They get an addition to damage, a 1.1 multiplier, with a 10 or 20% boost to their final hit, evasion, and critical rates. The number goes from 10 to 20 depending on which Robot Wars game you're actually playing, which is very strange. In one game it's 10, in one game it's 15, another it's 10, another it's 20. It fluctuates from game to game, I guess, to keep a sort of balance.
Well, I've got some Gundam Seed, whatchamacallit. Oh, I've also got Super Robot Wars data for you, too, for Gundam Seed. I've got Super Robot Wars data and Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Battle Destiny data for you.
Oh, absolutely. Remind me so I can get through this list.
Okay.
I want to hear that. For sure.
Sorry, go on.
Okay, so I have more data here, which we didn't cover, but just to keep in with everyone else, we have their X-Rounders. They get an accuracy and evasion bonus plus 5%, but only gain an extra 3% per level up to level 9. So it's weaker, but they have the added bonus of increasing their barrier power by 100 up and gain an additional 100 points per level. So mobile suits that have a barrier type like the Full Glanza, the Age FX, they have their own barrier, and at each rank of X-Rounder they get an additional 100 damage resistance. And not to leave our young lad Osimo out, the Super Pilot has its own stat. At high morale, they get a 20% bonus to evasion and accuracy at every 10 points of morale. So at 130, they have a plus 20%. At 140, they have plus 30%. And it goes up to 170 points. And the Hyper Boost skill, which is basically an after image effect, activates 5% more often at every 10 morale. What we didn't discuss, what nobody brought to the table today, were the Innovades, the Innovators, and our Quantum Brainwave Super Soldiers. Innovades, which are most seen as the enemy type pilot as opposed to Setsuna. At high morale, they gain an 18% evasion, accuracy, and critical bonus, and gain a plus 3 for every 10 morale, starting at 130. The Super Soldier, which is only limited to Alleluia/Hallelujah and Murray Parfacy, is a 15% accuracy and evade bonus, plus 5% at every 10 morale. But in some games, they don't have that as an ability whatsoever. So Alleluia is just treated as a dude. No special get angry mode for you, good sir. And lastly, the Innovator, which has the most variance across various games. At high morale, we get 20% bonus to evasion and accuracy, and an extra 5 at every 10 morale. A 5% chance for quantum jumping activating, and an extra 5% on top of that. And then in some games, he also has SP recovery, which is your concept of using magic and stat boosting abilities.
Side note, the kanji for Innovator is also the same one used for Newtype.
Oh,
hint,
okay.
hint, nudge, nudge.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think in that case, that may be a case of
they did that on purpose.
Yeah. I know why. I believe me, I did Gundam Jeopardy. I can tell you almost why that is. But I think that's more the case of Innovate as opposed to Setsuna's Innovator, because his is like unique compared to all of the enemy types that would have that. Now, they're probably written the same because, oh boy, Amuro Ray and Ribbon Zalmark have the same voice actor. Imagine having an argument with yourself about who the superior space wizard is.
Oh, come on, that'd be fun to see in an actual on-screen fight.
Hey boys, I got something for you later. But good sir, tell me your Super Robot Wars data about the coordinators. Yes, I want to hear this.
Okay. No, the same thing, basically just spilled out in a different way, because I guess the older Super Robot Wars games, the coordinators got an extra bonus point for each multiple of 5 for morale or will above 110.
Do you happen to know which game that was in? Because I only looked at 2 different games, and I know the seed factor is in several games.
So basically, the note that I'm reading says the more recent games like Super Robot Wars L and Z2, it's not there.
Okay. I didn't look at those two. The data I looked at was their first appearance in Robot Wars Alpha 3, and I know I looked at a different. I was looking at the data that came up in Robot Wars BX, which is also where we can simultaneously find X-Rounders and Innovates.
Right. The other data I have here for Battle Destiny, for making your own custom coordinator character, their development is slower than naturals, but they get +9 to all stats except stamina off the hop. Plus the slower development because they start high. If you're lucky and you are getting exclusive to main characters coordinator stats, the second type coordinator, which is your Seed Berserker, they get the same stat boosts, but when their mobile suit's hit points drops to 30% or below, Seed mode kicks in and they get +30 to all stats. Super Coordinator, which is Kira only, because Jesus.
Because
he's Jesus, let's face it. All his stats, except for stamina, get a base, are their base +14 off the hop. He also gets the Seed mode, which triggers at 30%, which also gives him +30 to all stats.
See, that Seed mode sounds like a stat in Robot Wars that's called Potential, wherein the lower your HP goes, the higher your stat correction is.
It's basically your basic RPG rage skill.
Yeah, the desperation. It's like, oh no, low HP, time to get serious now.
Pretty much, and then, well, oh my god, they're scary.
Yeah. Okay, so according to the data that you have presented me and the factors at hand with this pilot, that is a very skilled combat pilot, as well as has the ability to use bit type weapons. The least likely seems to be a Newtype X. Unfortunately, he does not seem to exhibit any sort of special communication, like directly word to word. Now, he does have that nature of you can talk to people in combat, but, we see Armoro do that plenty of times. He gets that flash, those dialogues with Sayla and Char every now and again. Second most likely would be a coordinator here. You did explain, which I actually didn't know, that the Dragoons and the bit-type weapons are actually more computer-controlled, which I can see that making a lot of sense, since they're already supposed to be, accelerated in their calculations. We get to see Kira, reprogram an entire Gundam to make it activate in a matter of, seconds? A minute, maybe? So they would probably have the wherewithal, the ability, the coordination, to both handle piloting and handle moving around various.
It's okay, we know what you mean.
That was an interjection from nature.
Please continue.
I do apologize. I'm not used to this Earthside air. I'm used to being in a very climate-controlled colony. I think they're called allergies?
Yes, what you're experiencing is what we call fresh air.
Oh, I haven't had any of that in a hot minute. What with having to help fix the economics and economy over in Side 8.
No recycled air, no recycled water.
The problem, though, is...
no glowing water.
As quaint a phrase as it is, the air is hardly fresh.
Fresh compared to what's inside of a colony.
Debatable.
Fresh compared to our colony? Highly likely. I digress. So that means that the most likely candidate from data presented today would be the X-Rounder. Very high combat capability, has the use of bit weapons, and so I present to you the mystery Newtype, the one from the universe that doesn't have any kind of Newtype proxies, George Dasan, the Gundam fighter.
Yeah.
Nice.
George Dasan out here being cool and French.
And probably being an X-rounder according to the data presented.
Yeah, this might actually help me with another project, so this works out.
Oh, very good.
Way to go, George.
Way to go, George. And we also shoehorned in the G Gundam. All right. We did it, folks. We had a great podcast.
All of the references.
Obligatory G-Savior reference.
Okay, we got G-Savior, G-Gundam, and Gundam Age. Everyone's favorites.
Everyone's in there. All the warriors coming out today.
All the warriors.
All the warriors.
But if you, the people, the viewers, have arguments or complications with our discoveries and data, please leave them in the comments below. Let us know. Perhaps maybe there's a Newtype proxy that I missed out because I was looking at Super Robot Wars data. Perhaps there's actually an in-the-universe explanation for why George can use rose bits and nobody else has bit weapons.
Nanotechnology?
Who knows? The mysteries of life and Gundam are ahead of us and behind us now. We've solved some of them.
Only some. We still gotta figure out Minovsky.
Okay. And once again, I was today's host, your boy Zappa, King of the Giant Robots. With me today was Chris, and Pat, and the Spicer of Gunpla Network.
It's your boys.
The boys.
Your Gunpla boys.
The Gunpla boys.
And don't forget, if you like more content like this, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening.
And remember, keep on building.